The decision to start a family is, of course, an intensely personal one, but have you ever considered how having kids affects your friends, your community, even the country or the world? This morning, we are looking at the declining birth rate here in America. The CDC says the rate is at its lowest level in 32 years. We're focused on that for our partnership with TED to highlight individuals and ideas shaping our world in our series, Ideas That Matter. New York Times contributing op-ed writer Wajahat Ali made his case for having kids in a recent TED Talk that has been viewed more than 1 million times.
We need to invest in babies in developed countries if we want to help save our economy and pensions. But that's not the reason you have babies. That's not the main reason. Babies have always represented humanity's best, boldest, most beautiful, infinite possibilities. And if we in developed countries, as a whole, opt out and don't invest in present and future generations, then what the hell's the point?
And Waj joins us here at the table. Okay, so not having kids.
Yeah.
Well,
Tony has a new baby.
I have a new baby.
You were very biased today, sir.
If I move out of the light, you can just see the bags coming down. What I always say that having kids can ruin your body more than nightlife ever could.
Oh, yeah.
But you're making the case for having kids.
Yeah, I'm going to make mothers very happy today, yeah.
Let's do it. What do you got?
So, first of all, like you said, having babies is a deeply personal choice, and there are many who want to but can't. We have to acknowledge that. And we also acknowledge the many reasons not to have kids: global warming, climate change, carbon footprint, overpopulation. But in developed countries, some of the world's largest economies, China, Japan, United States, Europe, people are not having enough kids. The global fertility rate has been halved in the past 50 years. In China, it's a crisis. They're literally begging people to have children for the country.
But is it any surprise? I mean, when you have kids, you lose sleep, you lose money, you lose the ability to live your life as freely as you may want to.
Gayle said it's expensive. In the United States, like you mentioned, we have hit our historic lowest birth rate last year. And when you do the research, why aren't people having kids in the United States of America, the most powerful, richest country in the world? They can't afford it.
Do you have any numbers? Do you have any numbers?
Yeah, these are the numbers. The United States is the most expensive country in the world to have a kid if you don't have insurance. If everything goes perfectly, it will cost you $32,000 to have a kid. The United States is the only industrialized country in the world that does not offer paid parental leave. So congratulations, you have a kid, and then your employer says, get back to work. Now you have childcare. It costs me $40,000 a year for childcare. So imagine young people with student debt, millennials who actually don't have as much as the previous generation. Now you're saying, have kids, raise the birth rate. Well, who's taking care of me? And that's why I said in the TED Talk, in order to invest in our future, which is literally babies, we have to invest in the present and help people who choose to have babies.
And you say there are other countries that are doing it better, that have this down.
Sweden, France, for example. Look, in Europe, the birth rate is declining, but Sweden and France, ironically, offering pronatal policies, subsidized daycare, helping women stay in the workforce, right? Affordable health care, the birth rate went up. Wow. So in the United States, maybe we should help people who want to have kids, help young people, help women stay in the workforce. Crazy idea, affordable childcare.
So, but in the middle of your TED Talk, the thing that stopped everybody cold is that you're preparing, you're in the middle of the TED Talk. On Monday, what happens?
My wife calls me and says...
Your TED Talk is Thursday.
My TED Talk's Thursday. My wife calls me from D.C. crying, and she's a strong woman. She says, I took my baby girl, Nuseba, to the hospital. We found bumps. I said, what happened? I just left her. They found bumps all over her liver. My wife said, doctor, she says, most likely this is going to be cancer. I said, should I come back? Because the universe just sucker punches you in the gut.
Exactly.
She says, stay, let's find out. My mom happened to be visiting from the Bay Area. Thursday was my talk. They said, just stay there, crush the talk for our little girl. 3 hours before my talk, the official diagnosis came out, stage 4 liver cancer.
Wow. 3 hours before the talk.
Yeah, so I integrated in the talk, and I did it for my daughter, Nuseba. We named her after a warrior princess.
And she is just that.
And she came home yesterday. She did her 5th chemo.
You did this talk last month.
I did this.
This is all very fresh.
This is all very fresh.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as a parent, you make this, you know, as soon as you hear something like that, may no parent ever hear this news.
Yes.
But as soon as you hear something like that, you make this negotiation with God or the universe. Trade my life.
Right.
But the world doesn't work that way. And so you have to fight for your kids. You have to fight for your daughter.
With that kind of heartache in having kids, you still recommend it?
It's the best thing that we've ever done. And I said that in the TED Talk. My wife and I talked about it, and we said we don't regret it for a second.
Your closing line.
So much joy.
Your closing line in TED Talk. We'll get it a little bit later on.
Yeah.